Well, good morning, everybody. It's Monday, June 23rd. Thanks for joining us here on Up to the Minute. I'm Dr. Nicholas Cox, the chair of the Houston City College's History Department. That's right, you might have heard that we are now Houston City College. It'll take us a little time to update our branding, but that's the new name. I'm here today with my occasional co-host, Jake Crowley. Jake, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Nick. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So Jake's an HCC TV production specialist, and Jake, I think I saw you and Nathan out here at the WHI Makerspace a week or two ago. Were you guys manufacturing stuff or making videos? What were you out here for?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What were you doing out at the Makerspace when I saw you last week? Were you and Nathan making videos or making
Oh,
manufacturing stuff?
oh yeah. I was at WHI filming a lot of great content for their 3D printing showcase. I got a lot of really good footage and made a recap video of it that is on YouTube on the Houston Community College page.
All right, great. Well, it's always nice to see you and Nathan outside of the Zoom meetings in real life. So, well, do us a favor and tell our audience out there how they can find us on our social media.
Yeah, of course. We're live on the Houston Community College District Facebook page, not HCC, and YouTube. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and HCCTV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Well, thank you, Jake. You're going to be interviewing our second guest today, but it is Music Monday, and we're returning with a discussion called Music Experience brought to you by musicians. And I wanted to welcome Dallas Burkhalter to the show. Dallas, good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Wow, we're wonderful. So you're a co-founder and festival director for the SpringStock Music Fest. And after our first segment and a little commercial break, we'll come right back to you and Jake, and you can tell us all about that music festival.
Sounds great.
All right, good to have you. Thank you for being here. All right. Well, up first, we're talking to an HCC History Department leader, my incredibly appreciated Associate Chair, Dr. Marjorie Brown. And Marjorie, we want you to tell our audience about this recent whole, kind of bevy of Juneteenth events. So, Marjorie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good,
Um,
good, good.
so we've just had an exciting weekend celebrating Juneteenth. Juneteenth really comes about at the end of the Civil War. The Civil War ends on April 9th, 1865. And about 6 months later, you get slaves in Texas get their freedom. And that day becomes known as June 19th, 1865, and it becomes known as Juneteenth. A Union general will come and arrive in Galveston and announce that all enslaved people are free. And this is about 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So this moment marked the last major shift, or the last major group of African Americans to learn that they were no longer enslaved, making Texas and specifically Galveston the symbolic final frontier of emancipation.
Well, tell
So,
us a little bit about the event that you guys did that you did for our Board of Trustees on Wednesday night, and we'll kind of hop back in and talk a little bit about the history of emancipation and abolition and some other events. But tell us about the board event.
so the history department works with or collaborates with the humanities department, and Dr. Perez has sort of initiated these sort of videos that commemorate like Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian History Month, all of these sort of months. And we've been now presenting it to the Board of Trustees in the form of a video. And so I was lucky to be able to help write the script as well as provide, read a little bit about it and discuss what Juneteenth, how it came about, what it meant, and really align it to what HCC, their goal, which is to kind of connect us to being the space city. And so we connected our video to how Black Americans are thriving and how we are connected to these Black astronauts. And so pretty much the convocation thing was take us to the moon. And so we just followed that theme throughout the video. And so it was really a nice video and it was received well.
All right, well, great. Well, I want to just say thank you for doing that because you're right. The board meets monthly, and our uh, you know Vice Chancellor of Instruction, always likes to have our academic expertise showcased at those board meetings. So there's a good opportunity to do that for almost every holiday, every month, and the history and humanities faculty really shine. So I'm glad you were able to do that this year. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, I mean, you and I know that this sort of started as an event in Galveston. It becomes a Texas and then a Gulf Coast kind of regional holiday, informally, particularly in African American communities. And then it became, of course, a national and a federal holiday. But you grew up here. What was your experience celebrating Juneteenth growing up in this area? A lot of
You know,
African Americans nationwide didn't celebrate this until very recently.
so the federal holiday is 4 years old. And when I was growing up, my parents are from Louisiana. So I always think it's kind of funny when Juneteenth came around. So the first time I found out about Juneteenth was in third grade. We went to Denver and they were celebrating Juneteenth there. A lot of Blacks had migrated to Denver to work at the Air Force Base there to help build it. And so we were in Denver visiting my aunt and uncle, and they had this Juneteenth parade or Juneteenth event. And my parents were just astounded that, people in Colorado were celebrating Juneteenth. As the years have gone by, you know, Juneteenth has come to mean really looking at service and trying to really grapple with what this new federal holiday means. How should it be celebrated? And so on social media, one of the things as people are trying to grapple, like, look, this is not the 4th of July where everybody eats hot dogs and everybody, does fireworks, right? Again, this is a federal holiday that's just 4 years old. And so I think that you could kind of see people trying to grapple with what or how Juneteenth should look. And I think the only thing people agreed upon was that it shouldn't be commercialized. But there were themes like Black people were thriving, that through it all, from freedom till today, from June 19th, 1865 to today, that African Americans had strived in education, in business, and all of these different areas. I think that another section was just commemorating Houston's leaders that passed, like Sylvester Turner, Mayor Sylvester Turner.
Let's pivot to a couple of those other questions, because
Okay.
we definitely want to talk about this theme of African Americans thriving. You mentioned that in the board presentation, and certainly Sylvester Turner, Sheila Jackson Lee are examples of African American leadership in the region. Tell our audience a little bit about their legacy, and just a couple minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit about other events happening in the region.
So, let's start with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. She's of the Congressional 23rd District, and which is pretty much where 3rd Ward, which covers University of Houston, HCC Central, all the way up to sort of 5th Ward. It's a weird sort of, kind of elongated district. And I met Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee in her first term. I became a congressional intern for Mickey Leland, who really made that seat quite famous. He's a famous Houstonian who was a humanitarian. And so Sheila Jackson Lee, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, really held that seat for about 20-something years. And if you were from that district, you would have seen her at pretty much all over the place, funerals, book talks. She just had this kind of personality always at the forefront. And unfortunately, she died about 6 months ago to cancer. Sylvester Turner, Mayor Sylvester Turner, had been a state legislator, and then became the mayor and successfully ran 2 terms. After Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee died, he then took that seat. But unfortunately, he died at the State of the Union talk. That was in, I want to say November. Nick, correct me. I think it was like November 3rd. Whenever
those State of the Unions are usually in January, but it sounds like it was the day of that Christmas break, I think. Yeah, that very recently.
Yes, and so one of the things that Houstonians really wanted to do when they thought about Juneteenth was how to commemorate it. And so these two individuals were really placed at the forefront. There were so Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church held something where they were going to commemorate them as being sort of the leaders for the Black community that needed to be recognized.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing a little bit about Juneteenth and African Americans thriving and opportunities in the Houston area and leaders like Mayor Turner and Sheila Jackson Lee. So we're out of time, but we want people to pay attention to some of the slides and look at our notes for posts after the show because there's a lot going on around the city this week, last week. So take some time, commemorate Juneteenth. Dr. Brown, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Okay. Have a good day.
You too. All right. Well, after a quick commercial break, Jake is going to be back with our Music Monday guest.
I'm learning healthcare management while providing patient care.
I came back to grow my skills, even after I graduated.
And if I can't make it in person, I take my classes online.
Dear Santa, my mom says I'm a good helper, but you didn't come last year. I just really hope this year when I wake up, I'm gonna see that you came to my house too.
Donate today.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Hi, welcome back to the show. And now let's move on to Dallas Burkhalter. Hi, Dallas. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you. Let's get started. So you are the founder and co-founder and festival director of SpringStock Music Fest, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's start by telling us what made you want to put on music festivals.
So me and my crew, we have always been very tapped in to the music community, being musicians ourselves, you know, growing up, going to events like BuzzFest and many other festivals, Warped Tour, and just really being in the mix and thinking we can do this, you know, we can do something cool. So from there, we just learned how to do it, you know, really reached out to certain people and over time made it happen.
That's great. So when you say you reached out to certain people, are you talking about like the kind of people that you would think this festival would be for? What kind of audience are you looking at?
So our audience is people of all walks of life, all ages. We're a very family-friendly festival, but really just Houstonians looking for something fun to do and ways to support local music and business.
Well, that's awesome. Do you have any preference of what kind of music you like personally?
So we have a wide variety of sounds, but mainly appealing towards rock, indie, alternative. But this last festival, we had one of our widest varieties hosting jazz, pop, and other sounds that were just very fresh.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a little bit of everything. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And can you please tell me what are the hardest challenges you've had to overcome when putting together a festival?
So as you can imagine, there's a lot that goes in. But for our very first SpringStock, it almost didn't happen just because of financial issues. We were trying to book this one venue that was $3,000, and we honestly just couldn't make that happen. But we got very fortunate to meet a Cassandra Abercrombie who basically found us a new venue. It was a very funny deal that involved a box of steaks for us to use the venue and a profit split and things like that. But she really took us under her wing and helped us make it happen. Other than that, generators getting stolen, dealing with weather, things like that, lineup changes, if something happens with a band, but that's never too much of an issue.
You've had generators stolen?
Once, but we kind of left it out too long, and it's just one of those things you live and learn.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But okay, so are there any? I'm sure there's a lot of fun parts that go into it. And the person that you met, Cassandra, okay, and have you learned a lot from her about what it's like to put together a festival on your own? I'm sure, right?
Oh, for sure. Very early on, she, really explained kind of what we should be doing and things like that. We had an idea of things, but it's like one of those situations where once you do it, you learn what you didn't know, Okay. But yeah, she taught us how to work with vendors, spacing of music, things like that. And then from there, we just kind of use the formula and still build with it. But
that's great. So from the different years you've had this festival, what are your goals for the future? And have you learned from the previous festivals y'all have had what you could go into the future?
For sure. So yeah, our goal is to honestly be the Houston Music Festival. I feel like there's a lot of people that have tried and things like that, but really just appealing to the people and not, selling out or anything like that. But that maybe one day doing a touring festival, hitting spots like Austin, San Antonio. But yeah, each year we really learn and, look back at how we do things. Some stuff we're like, this could be simpler. Some stuff we're like, okay, we need to put more time and energy into this. But it's been an ever-growing process.
Well, that's awesome. And so you say you want to try to get to Austin at some point. So at the moment, what are you doing to get yourself out there, like on social media? Where can people find you, and what do you do for that?
So yeah, we're on all platforms. SpringStock Music Fest. It's one of those things where, yeah, we've learned how to market. Being in a music festival, you wear many hats. One of those is marketing. But we've just continuously just gotten better about things like putting up flyers, digital marketing, running ads, all that. We've just gotten better and better at.
Well, that's great. And before the show started, you mentioned that you went to UH and got a media degree.
Yes.
Oh,
Goku.
So awesome. So did some of that while you were at UH, did your inspiration for this festival spark there, or did it spark?
Oh, very much so. At UH, I was in an organization called Astro Music Foundation, and we put on open mics, shows, and stuff like that. And it was always an ambition to throw a music festival with that organization, but I never did in my time there. But it was one of those things that really gave experience in a similar light. Also at UH, I was president of my fraternity. That gave me a lot of leadership experience, how to work with people and do things that seem very tough. But once you do them, you're like, hey, I could do whatever,
Well, that's awesome. No, I'm very happy to hear all that. And can you please tell everyone what advice you have for people that are trying to get into your shoes and keep going and start a festival of their own, maybe?
For sure. I would say dream high. The sky is the limit, especially having a good team of people around you, all with a common goal. It makes it a lot easier than just, being on one or two people. But stay ambitious and really tap into the resources around you, because it can seem like a desert, but in reality, there's so much around you that, mentors, resources, things like that can push to make the impossible happen.
I like that. That's perfect.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show. We had Dallas Burkhalter here today, who was the co-founder of Festival Director of SpringStock Music Fest. We'll have close after the show. Coming up after a quick commercial break, Nick and I will return with some news and announcements.
I'm learning healthcare management while providing patient care.
I came back to grow my skills, even after I graduated.
And if I can't make it in person, I take my classes online.
When a child is sick, there's one thing they need: a really big cookie.
Welcome to RMHC.
We're not big on poking sticks and beeping machines, but we're the best at playing dress up. We think the tooth fairy should travel everywhere, and while hospitals have doctors and nurses, we have mom and dad. Because at Ronald McDonald House Charities, we help families feel at home, even when they can't be.
Where I come from, they call firefighters the bravest. My dad was one. We lost him 3 years ago. First Responders Children's Foundation gave me a scholarship so that I can become a nurse and help people just like my dad did.
Help us help them.
All right, we're back, and thank you for that segment, Jake. It's always great to hear about the local music scene.
Yeah, no, it really was. Yeah, it was very interesting.
Do you get an opportunity to go out and make film of local music?
I don't know, but yeah, it definitely got me inspired.
All right. Well, let's close out with a few announcements here. First of all, Mondays are Mindful Mondays, and the Southeast College's Student Life Building is hosting an opportunity for students to reset. They have some yoga, guided breathing techniques, and wellness tips. That's at their Recreational Sports and Student Life Building. That's today, Monday, June 23rd, from noon to 12:30. So if you're at East Side, stop by. Check our post after the show for more information.
Yeah, we also have PEP time deadline approaching. All of HCC's PEP documents must be acknowledged by the end of June for instruction to visit My HCC, and the deadline is June 30th for full-time faculty and staff. Also, check our post after the show for more information.
All right, well, the online college would like you to bring your own ice cream. They're going to offer a workshop. This is HCC's online Office of Student Life, and students say they can beat the heat and learn to make ice cream at home. So check our post after the show for more information. This is an online college event, so it'll be virtual on Zoom Tuesday, July 1st at 6 p.m.
Yeah, and also to add on to more activities, HCC's drama department is presenting the annual GI 60 Houston with 1-minute plays from around the world, performed by HCC drama students. That is going to be at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday and Thursday, July 2nd and 3rd at HCC Southwest Fine Arts Center in Stafford.
All right, well, a little up-to-the-minute news for everybody. There will be no up-to-the-minute episode on Thursday. Chancellor Dr. Margaret Ford Fisher is busy preparing for 2 new shows that she's going to host, along with planning for HCC's new name, Houston City College. And with that rollout, HCC's TV staff will be working to record those episodes Thursday. Up to the Minute will not air, but instead, best of segments will run on HCC TV at our scheduled time at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. So we'll be back on Friday, June 27th, and we'll have a show Tuesday and Wednesday, but none on Thursday.
Yeah, and cap it off, we have fall registration is still ongoing. It is time to be thinking about fall classes. If you're not already, HCC classes are still offered in a variety of program semester lengths and a range of modalities, including online anytime, online on a schedule, hybrid, which is both face-to-face and partially virtually, in person, and the hybrid lab. To learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options to cover costs, go to hccs.edu/apply.
Well, okay, tomorrow is Tasty Tuesday, and we're going to welcome back Cyclone Anayas, a Houston Tex-Mex staple for nearly 60 years now. And later this week, we're going to have guests featuring our HCC Biology Department. So we'll see you then. Remember, no show Thursday, but we'll be here every other day this week.